Hi there, Derek Hagan here. I'm a financial therapist, financial planner, and life coach specializing in meaning in life, mindfulness, and resilience here with another meaningful money memo. Let's get to it. As far as we know, humans are the first species that know that we're going to die, and that terrifies us. We developed these giant brains, which gave us the ability to plan for the future. And naturally, when we plan far enough out in the future, we recognize that our time is limited, and that scares us. Mortality, the topic of mortality is often, if not first, a second place of taboo topics right behind money. It's because we don't like thinking about it, at least in the United States. There are some cultures that celebrate death and they celebrate the shortness of life and they celebrate mortality. And that's what I want to do here. I want to try to bring some reframing to this idea that life is short. And we're going to think about our life in the form of a book. Now, this book of life, this is your life, and you are the author. So the idea here is that you have a golden ticket. You've got this life, and you get one life. And that's this ticket here gives you the right to this book that you get to write, that you get to be the author of. And as you think about this book, whatever page we're on, that's today. That's this month. That's right now. The stuff in the book that you've already read, that's in the past. You already know what happens there. The stuff that's yet to come that you haven't read that represents the future. And on this page it says this month. Because if we think about the pages in our book, average life expectancy is it depends on who you're asking and a lot of different factors, but think about age 80 is kind of an average life expectancy. And if I, make things round, if I say that each page represents a month of your life, that means that you've got 1,000-page book. So let's lay those out. The book of life. Get all the pages out there. This is 1,000-page book. Across the top, you've got 60 pages, 60 months. That represents 5 years of your life. And so every two lines, every two rows would be a decade of your life. And so your 83rd birthday is down here towards the end. And this is what gives us the round 1,000-page book. Of course, 1,000 pages is not guaranteed. 1,000 good pages is not guaranteed. But this gives us an idea to see all of your months, all of your pages here ahead of time. And this starts, of course, with page 1. Page 1 is your birth. Page 1 is the start of all of your pages. It's the first page of the book. It's the first line. It's the first text of the first page of your book. So let's give some more context here. At some point, you were on page 60. Page 60 means you were 5 years old and you started going to school. And you kept progressing through your book, and somewhere you got onto page 216. And 216 is when you turned 18 years old and you became an adult. This is an interesting way to think about your life. Your life as a book and your various pages, your various months that you get to live. But at some point, you will get to the last page of your book. You will get to your deathbed. Now, the deathbed, that's that final page. And this one's a little trickier because, again, we don't know which one it's going to be. But you will get on your deathbed. And hopefully, as you look back on your book from your deathbed, you can say, I would do it again. There's an author named Bronnie Ware who used to work with people who are on their deathbeds. And she wrote a book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. And what she realized is that when people get to this last page of their book, when they're on the last page, they tend to regret some aspect of their life. They feel like they've mislived in some way. So she wrote this book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying to help people see what are the most common regrets people have. And her point of doing this is to allow us to know what this is now so that we don't have to wait until our deathbed to experience these regrets. We can learn what they are now. So we'll go through Bronnie Ware's top 5 regrets of the dying in detail. Regret number 1 is that I didn't live a life that was true to myself. I instead lived a life that others expected of me. So doing what I thought I was supposed to do. This could be as small as bought a new car because my neighbors had new cars. I probably shouldn't have done that. I kept up with the Joneses. Or it could be as big as I was a doctor literally because my family told me to be a doctor. But I didn't live aligned with my values. Is regret number one. Regret two is that I worked too hard or I worked too much. And this often starts off well intended. Maybe I want to help my family, or maybe I want to make a name for myself. I can often become successful if I work really hard. But then I find that I don't have the time nor the energy to enjoy this success. If I said family was important to me, so I wanted to work to provide for my family, but then I didn't get to hang out with my family. Regret number three is that I didn't have the courage to express myself. So I had all these feelings. I only expressed a subset of those feelings. In that big red circle, that's regret. People get to their end of their life and they wish they would have stood up for themselves. They wish they would have made their opinions known. Regret number four is that I lost touch with my friends and my family. We are deeply social creatures, and often life gets in the way, and so that weekly dinner, that weekly lunch turns into monthly and quarterly and annually, and then pretty soon you're blocking each other on Facebook. You just lose touch with each other, always thinking that there'll be more time to reconnect, but then we run out of time. And regret five is that I didn't allow myself to be happier. Either I didn't realize happiness was a choice, or I thought happiness would come after the achievement of some goal. So maybe I thought I'd be happy as soon as I was done with high school, or as soon as I got into college, as soon as I graduated college, got into grad school, out of grad school, got the job, made partner, started the family, empty nest, retire. At some point, you run out of time because this contingent happiness never paid off. So these are the 5 regrets, and we can use this to inform how we want the rest of our book to go. And there's basically a couple of ways that we can spend our pages. We can focus on our present selves. This is enjoying life. This is doing things that are fun right now. Another thing that we can do is we can focus on future you, or some version of future you. There's multiple versions of future you. There's a 1 year from now you, there's a 5 year from now you, a 10 year from now you, and so on. And this is planning for the future. So if you think about this as kind of a Venn diagram, where you've got some things that benefit present you and some things that benefit future you, if you're in just the present you circle, you're doing things that are fun. Yeah, it's fun, but it's at the expense of you in the future. You make your life more difficult in the future if you're hanging out in this zone. The alternative is maybe you're over just in the future you section. And in the future you only section, you might call this responsible. You're working really hard, or you're saving, you're depriving yourself. You're doing these things that help you out in the future, but it deprives you of having a life. Like the character Ebenezer Scrooge, always working so that he had something saved for the future, but then sacrificed his life as a result. There are times when you might be outside both circles. Right? This is the area where you're doing things that aren't really fun and they don't help you out in the future. This is a bad zone to be. But the sweet spot, though, is to focus on the intersection. How can you design your book, the rest of your book, so that you're doing things that you enjoy while also setting yourself up in the future? And when we go through, that's the rest of the book. What about the first part of the book? Many people have made some mistakes in their financial life, or just their life in general. And these mistakes can give us guilt. These mistakes can make us feel a sense of shame. And various people have various relationships with mistakes. Some people beat themselves up. They ruminate. They wish they would have done better. They spend all their time focusing on that mistake. Some people realize that you can't cry over spilled milk. Once it's spilled, you can't do anything about it. It's in the past. And then there are other people who turn those mistakes into lessons. I can't change the past, but I can reap all the lessons, the benefits, the knowledge that comes from those mistakes. And when I turn those into lessons, now I can do something about the rest of my book going forward. So it changes the mindset from this win or lose mentality, and it changes it into a win or learn mentality. So when we apply that to our book, you may have had some mistakes in the past, but we're rebranding those as lessons. You've got those lessons in the past, and you can apply those going forward to make your life better. You can use the lessons of the past to make your future better. So now, You've got the situation where you are the author of the book and you have a lot of choice over what happens in the rest of your book. How will you write the rest of the story of your life? Greetings, Derek again. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more, please head to meaning.blog, and there you can learn about all things related to money and mindset and purpose and meaning. And you'll be able to find out how we might be able to work together. You'll find more articles. You'll find links to videos. You'll find online courses, all kinds of things to get you going on your journey towards living more intentionally.